but I'm praying so hard that the network won't disappoint. Like the way it is, it's really breaking. It's really breaking. So okay, let me try to see if I can share a bit of a screen. Let me try. Otherwise, let's hope for the best. The network is.
Everything is going to be fine. Don't worry. Everything.
This comes on the. I using Airtel probably. I think MTN would do a better job if you have the SIM card.
MTN.
Yeah, usually when it comes to internet, MTN usually does a better
MTN
job.
is a
I couldn't hear anything.
bit okay. MTN is a bit bad where I am, but I'll try to switch. I'll try to switch so that I see if it can work just in maybe 2 minutes. But allow me to see if I can share a screen out on the settings. Um, okay. Okay, it's showing. Is the screen showing?
Yes, yes. We're able to get you. We can see the screen.
In quite a number of things, and we wonder how is it possible that we can start writing prolifically. But before that, I would love also to pose a few two very critical questions that Dr. Miles posed to a group of writers. There was a time Dr. Miles was invited to speak to a group of writers, and he asked them two critical questions, which is he told them that when you fail to answer these questions as writers, then you are not ready to write. The first one is, why should you write? That is a very key question that you need to critically understand as a writer. If you want to be prolific in your writing, and you don't know why you have to write something, probably you may not put in much of what is needed for you to write that particular thing. The second question that he asked them was, why should anyone want to read what you write? Apologies, I think the screen there, the words are too wide, they can't show. But if you're able to see, the question that is there is, why should anyone want to read what you write? So those are the two very good questions to begin with, if you are to be or to turn your writing skills into a leveled up level. If you're able to answer those two questions, you'll be ready to write. Why should anybody bother to read what you write, and why in the first place should you write that? So allow me to give the answers that he gave. I would love to share with you what he shared with them as well, so that we move together as we come to the actual steps on how to become a prolific author. It won't be a very big challenge if we understand the two fundamental questions, or we have right answers for the two fundamental questions. So the reason number one that you should write is that writing gives you the power and ability to leave your thoughts beyond your grave. Ideas outlive men. Books outlive those who wrote them. it is widely acknowledged that the thoughts that are governing the world right now, it is those thoughts of dead men, men that have died and they have passed on their books. So they left their books, their ideas and thoughts in books. And those are the theories, those are the ideas that are controlling the world at the moment. We have very few books written by authors that are alive. Most of the books that we cram, whether it's academic, whether it's religious circles, if you are a religious person, whether it is a motivation, whether it is leadership, most of those books are or were written by the people that have passed on. You know, your book outlive you, and it gives you idea, power, and voice and influence that survives beyond your grave. And that's why writing is so powerful, such that you not compared to any other thing like speaking. You know, somebody can speak and address a group of millions of individuals, but those ideas will not survive so long, because as long as people forget, or as soon as people forget about what you shared with them, like we are doing here during the webinar, as fast as you forget what I'm sharing, then automatically what I'm going to share with you will also disappear. But you know, for you to leave your ideas, for them to survive beyond your life expectancy, you need to write them. Nothing is as powerful as a book. No matter how much technology changes and evolves, whether it is printed, the book, whether it is printed or digital or audio, the book remains a master. That is what you need to understand. And you know, books are so important, such that if you're a religious person or a Christian, even God himself wrote his ideas and his thoughts into a book, the thoughts that he had for humanity, that he communicated, all those things. Putting our ideas and our thoughts into a book so that they survive our existence and our lifespan. The second reason is that your ideas written in a book add to your credibility. Spoken ideas die when a person stops speaking. Like I have mentioned, written ideas receive credibility. It is in our human nature to accept something that is written compared to that which is said. And you know, when something is written, it has that power that makes it survive and gives human beings the ability to analyze critically what the author's written. The third reason is that the book allows you to multiply and expand beyond your influence geographically and socially. It expands your capacity to impact people. You know, as a great public speaker can address 50,000, for example, in a single day, 50,000 people in a single day to share his or her ideas. A great author can touch millions of lives around the world, free from the restraints of any single location or gathering. That is a beauty about books, because you tend to reach people beyond your culture, beyond your religious circles. There are many books that we read of people that who are not in the same faith as ours, who came from different religious background, cultural background. So the book breaks that barrier of physical limitations and cultural limitations, governance limitations, and all those kinds of things. The book gives you power. So those three reasons should motivate you to write. Perhaps I would agree with Sagan, who said writing is perhaps the greatest of human inventions. It binds people together. Citizens of distant epicos who never knew one another. Books break the shackles of time, and books gives proof that human beings can work magic. If you have never thought about writing a book, or in case you didn't know why you should become, or why you should put those ideas into a book, It is, you must know today, tonight, I may not know the time. For those of us who are joining from the US, it could be afternoon. But those of us who are in Zambia and Russia, it is evening. This evening or this afternoon, you must know that writing gives you that ability to impact lives. Number 4, which most of us may not know, is that writing clarifies and cements what you know as an author. I'll agree with friend Ryan, who said, I write to discover what I know. What most of us don't know is that the moment you embark on writing a book, for those of us who have written books, you will agree with me. If you may have ideas about a certain topic, you may have ideas about creating, if you're a fiction writer, about writing specific stories. But the moment you begin to ink those ideas into a book, you begin to know that they expand and they become so clear, and your ability actually to ink that story, to ink those thoughts, become so expanded such that you begin to know the kind of thoughts that you hold in your mind. So writing clarifies and cements what you know. And that's why those who never write, well, they miss out on a big number of things, especially in terms of cementing the knowledge or getting into the deeper depths, the deeper roots of what they know. Okay, so now, having said what I've said, allow me to read what Benjamin Franklin said. Benjamin Franklin said something that is very, very key to our discussion this time. He said, either write something worth reading or do something worthy writing. Now, you know, my dear friends, my dear writers, if you are not a writer, the would-be writer who has joined, we have the ability to write. There are many of us who write just because we have the capacity to write. But writing just because you have the capacity to write is not good enough. Like somebody, anything worth doing is worth doing well. And I agree totally with Benjamin Franklin, who said, if you are writing, it's either you write something worth reading, meaning your content should be great. The way you bring down those thoughts from your mind onto the paper, or whether you are typing, should be worthy or should be in such a way that when a person picks your book, they will not regret or waste time reading through the pages of your book or your journal or article. Or if you're not a writer, at least live a life that will be worthy writing about. In other words, writing just for the sake of writing is not good enough as a writer. You must become or aim to become prolific in your writing if you are going to impact humanity. We have got many great authors across the globe, many great authors who have died, but their voices are still speaking, not because they just wrote for the sake of writing, but because they wrote it in a way that it constantly survives the change in time. Even if there'll be changes in grammar, technology, and culture, what they wrote, the way they wrote what their thoughts was analyzed at that particular time was so spectacular that it survives the test of time. So when you're writing, your aim should be to write in a particular way such that your writing survives the test of time. No amateur writer can write in a way that makes his or her writing survive the test of time. Very, very key to note there. So now the question that you can ask is that how can I write prolifically? How can I level up my writing abilities so that when I write, my ideas survive beyond me, but they survive in a prolific manner. They survive in a manner that impacts humanity and the world at large. They survive in a way that that constantly speaks epically to the human mind. How can I do that? Well, allow me to share a story with you. This story is a story you're going to read in my book that you are going to receive at of learning. I've shared this story in the very first chapter of the book, and you're gonna enjoy it. This story is about a man who wakes up at midnight, and he wakes up in a state where he's not fully awake. If you have woken up at some point, I remember myself setting up an alarm some time back, and then I had a very busy day, and when I went to bed, the alarm had to ring, and then I was waking up. I'm in that state of half asleep, half awake. That was a state of that man. You're not fully conscious, yet you are conscious. That was a state of that man. So this man, in that state, he listens to his heart. His heart resounds a certain voice to him that says, you must embark on a certain errand. In other words, the mind kept telling him that he must move out and embark on a journey. But then in that state where he was half asleep, half awake, he wrestled on what to do. So eventually he went back to bed. So he slept. And early in the morning, when he woke up, he still heard the heart still resounding the conviction to embark on that venture, to embark on a journey. But the question that he had, the question that he wrestled with was whether, which direction is he going to take for him to go and follow what the heart was saying, which direction, which route, and what was the purpose of a venture. But because the heart, kept on resounding, we all have had those experiences where your heart keeps telling you certain things, and though you are not clearly understanding, for the sake of quenching what your heart is telling you, we end up doing something. And that was the case of this man. He ends up embarking on a journey. He ends up on deciding that he's going to embark on this journey, though he was not very sure what why he was going, why he was embarking on the journey and which direction to take. But he resolved that he's going to embark on this journey. And as he took his bath and he dressed and he came out of there, fortunately enough, this man finds 3 roots just outside the yard. And he decides to take any of them. I hope you are getting the story. He decides to take any of them. So he walks in that path for a distance which was not calculatable, which means it is a long distance that he walked, such that he couldn't even calculate how far he has walked. And he reached a certain point. He said, okay, I've walked long enough. Let me check how far this route is going. So he looks how far the route is going. He saw that the route was going nowhere because it had no end. And he saw that it had no boundaries. When he was turning back and he looked on the sides, he saw several other routes. And he realized that he had stepped on many of them such that he couldn't trace his exact way back home. So what he decides to do, this man picks his phone, he calls his wife home and he says, my wife, I'm lost. And the wife could do little about that situation because even the wife herself did not know his way about of the man. So this man is now confused. He's in the state where he's perplexed. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know where to turn. And he sits down, he closes his eyes. So he begins reflecting on what step to embark on next. And in the midst of that, he felt a hand tapped on his shoulder, and the voice shouted his name. And when he was opening his eyes, alas, it was the wife calling him to wake up and take a shower. It was all a dream. What a real dream, a very long, real dream, kind of. He began reflecting on the dream and realized he tried to learn 1 or 2 things from the dream. And one critical thing he learned is that he needs to embark on a route that is sure, of a route that is so clear in terms of where it was leading, unlike on embarking on something that he did not know, just as long as it is passable, and end up somewhere where he was not sure of. And Jordan B. Peterson, who wrote the book, The 12 Rules to Chaos, he wrote something in that book that got my attention is shared, and the quote reads, "If you do not know where you are precisely," and I love that adverb there, precisely, then you could be anywhere. When you don't know exactly where you are, the possibilities are many, 100% that you're just anywhere. You get from point A to point B unless you are already at point A. And if you are just anywhere, the chances that you are at point A are very small indeed. Anywhere is too many places to be, and some of those places are very bad. What Jordan Peterson is saying is that you need to define exactly where you are. It could be in life, it could be in your career, it could be in anything that you do, even in physical location, because when you don't know exactly where you are, you could be anywhere. And the dangerous part about being anywhere is that anywhere is too many places to be. And anywhere, some may be that place which is may be very bad for your well-being. In other words, what this quote is trying to bring across to us as writers or as authors is that, do you know exactly where you are as a writer? What is your writing place and field code? This forms the very key step to becoming a prolific author. A person who does not know where they are as a writer, a person who does not know where exactly in which field they fall in as a writer, the chances that they're going to become prolific are very, very slim, almost equal to zero. Because you cannot become prolific in anything. Anything means nothing. Anything is as good as saying I'll become prolific in everything. Everything means nothing. If you cannot stand up for something, or if you're right, you cannot stand up for something specific for a specific field, then you may not go very far. The other question I may pose to you is, why are your writing not visible to the world yet? Why, if you really are a writer, if you are an author, why is it that the world has not yet seen what you write? Why is your writing not visible to the world? Allow me to quote what one wise man said. One wise man said, everything clarified and articulated becomes visible. When something is clarified and articulated, becomes visible to the world to see. So why is your writing not visible? Perhaps you have not clarified it. Perhaps you have not clearly articulated which field.
Mr. Musomat, sir, kindly unmute your mic. Sorry for that interruption. Mr. Musomat. Unmute your mic, sir. Sorry for that interruption. Okay.
Field. Okay. It's now on, right?
Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible, sir.
About that. Am I audible right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so sorry for that interruption. Allow me just to share back the screen. Allow me to share back the screen. Wow. Okay, so what I was saying as we wait for the screen is that any writing that is clarified and articulated becomes visible. So the chances, the reason why your writings are not visible to the world is because you have not clarified or articulated. In other words, you are not you have not defined clearly whether you're right, where your writing falls. For you to become prolific, you must make sure that you know exactly which genre you fall in, what the purpose of your writing is, why you are writing, who are your target audience is, because that is when you clarify. Clarification and articulation of your writing means you know your target audience, you know your writing space, you know your genre, you know why you are writing. Those key important things. Allow me again to quote what Jordan B. Peterson said. He said, if you leave things vague, then you will never know what is one thing and what is another. Everything bleed into everything else, and this makes the world too complex to be managed. When you have not defined your genre as a writer, you could be in school. I know there are some students that have joined us. For you to become prolific in your academic writing, you must know that what you are writing is academic. That is a genre that it has. And then you must know specifically the purpose of that writing. And then academic writing also differs depending on the field in which you are. When you are writing for medical purposes, the kind of style and many other things that will be required there are very different from when you are writing maybe in a mathematical world or in an English or linguistic world. So you must know, never leave things vague, never leave things unclear. When you are writing, don't just write for the sake of writing. This very first step is the keenmost thing, the utmost thing, the preponderant thing that will make you become prolific, because the moment you know where your writing falls, the moment you know why you write, the moment you know your target audience, then you are going to become very easy for you to ink the thoughts in a way that best meets the people that you're targeting, in a way that best suits the genre in which you are. So in other words, what we are simply saying is the first step to becoming a prolific author is to discover and choose your writing genre, which best befits you and gives you a meaningful read. By that, I mean choose a genre that falls in your capacity and abilities, things that you enjoy reading. There is one particular area about life that gives you a fulfillment whenever you read about that particular thing. There's a particular area about life okay, so what I was saying is there's a particular area about your life, there's a particular area that gives you a meaningful read. That area that in which you enjoy much whenever you are reading, whenever you voice out in that field, it gives you that kind of fulfillment that makes you feel like you want to speak more in that particular area. That particular area could be your genre. Try to examine it and then pick that for your writing field. Now, to many of us who may not be familiar with the term genre, genre is a term which means the type of art or literature or music that is characterized by by a specific style of writing, a specific style and form of content. And we have the two keenmost examples of a genre in the literature world, this word genre applies to many other fields. It could be in the music, we have different genres, even in music. In the writing aspect, we have two bigger, the topmost genre, the common genre, which number one is fiction, and the number two is non-fiction. And these two are furthermore split in the subgenres such as poetry, drama, comedy, romance, business, biography, inspirational writing, religious, the focus, academic, scholarly writing, reportage writing for journalists, and all those kinds of writing, creative writing, fiction writers. So what you need to do is choose that genre, because your genre is what gonna determine what kind of sentence construction you're gonna use, what kind are you going to use as you write, and what language, at what level are you going to be communicating with your particular target audience or readers. The moment you miss the genre part, you are going to be you'll be doing a mismatch as you write, and you can never become prolific. The best example I can give you is when you're talking about business. Okay, there's a language in business that is used that is not used in the academic circles. There's a language that is used in the circles of creative writing that is not used in the other genres of writing. And I must make mention that your genre, to a large extent, is also determined by the specific needs of society you want to meet through your passion, life purpose, and profession. There are things that you desire to make a difference in. There's a particular area in life in which you desire to exercise much of your abilities, and you can examine that particular area, the context of it, see in which particular field it falls, and pick that for your writing field. And also the need you plan to meet, encapsulate the needs and expectations of your target audience. The genre that you pick always as an audience that follows it. In other words, the needs and expectations of your potential audience determines your writing genre. The less clear you are genre, the less clear your writing shall be. The reason is simple. As I've mentioned, when you don't understand which genre your writing falls in, or you are that kind of a person who writes so many things and on almost everything, you are going to find that you do not have a specific thing that will equip you, or in which you are going to sharpen your skills and knowledge on, and then people will not know you for something specific in which you can sound and they listen.
Sorry, I think on the other end of our speaker, the network has cut off. But this is really life-changing, and I believe after this, we're going to make sure that we ink our ideas, on paper, and making sure that we choose a genre that suits our ambition, suits our purpose, that thing that really moves our heart each and every time we read about it, that thing that we feel we can make a difference in the society. It can be business, it can be academics, or, your ideas really matter and you need to ink them so that they can outlive your life. So, Mr. Musomat.
Okay, so yeah, so like I was sharing with you, okay, allow me to stop sharing a bit of PowerPoint. Allow me just to continue through. So what I was saying is pick a genre that best suits you, a genre that works for you, a genre that falls within your strengths and your abilities, and then try to equip yourself in that particular genre. And I must also make mention why this is very important is because the way your language, the language in which you choose to write in, the way that language is used differs from one genre to the other. I'll give an example. The way English language is being used in the medical genre is not in the same manner the way English language is being used in the law sector. The syntax or the laws of grammar in law is different from the laws of grammar when you are dealing with science or creative writing. And this is where most of the people miss it. And some people may argue a lot to say, no, this word, especially those who are doing linguistic, if you have done linguistic language as your degree, or maybe you have specialized in linguistics, you may argue when you read something from the motivational or inspiration genre, and they have twisted that word to mean according to the context of how they are using it, you may argue so they abuse that word. But language use differs from one genre to the other, and that's why it is very, very important that you pick a genre that suits you, a genre that falls within your purpose, a genre that gives a meaningful read. Why? Because when you begin to specialize into one specific thing, it makes you begin to know the depth of that field, and it gives you a bit of exposure such that when you begin to sound, when you begin to share your ideas, when you begin to ink your thoughts, they will become so profound such that it will put you at a clear distinction. Many people may wonder, they may ask, why is it that some great authors, they write in so spectacular manner, such that some things when they speak, even if they are speaking common things that we know, but the way they organize them, the way they paint them, they sound so good so that when you read them, you want to read more and more. It is about how well they have entered, how deep who spent much of his time to talk about leadership in the context of life purpose. He entered in so much into depth of that knowledge such that whenever he sounds, if you have taken time to read Dr. Miles, you can agree with me that his books and his information are quite deep, such that when you read, you always want to read the next book that he wrote. You always want to read the next chapter in that particular book. Why? Because specification leads to specialization, and specialization leads to excellence. That is how it is, as simple as that. Let us stop trying to write on almost every single thing that comes out there. You will be not known for something specific, and your writing will always remain on the neophyte level, or you will remain a novice in the writing profession. If you're gonna be prolific, make sure you stick to the genre. Make sure you pick that genre and stick to it, my dear friends. That way we will make a difference, and we will begin we'll begin to equip ourselves for excellence. In the nutshells, what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is, don't be a writer of anything. Be a writer of something specific. Number two, don't be a writer on almost every single thing that comes out there. Any trending issue, whatever they're commenting and writing, you will become prolific. Have something specific to write. And number three, make sure when you pick a genre, enter into the depth of that genre, study the books in that genre, equip yourself with skills in genre, begin to learn the language that is being used in genre, begin to learn how particular the language, if you are using English, if you are using Portuguese, if you are using Chinese, whatever language that you are using, it has got rules and conditions that apply in that particular genre. So you familiarize yourself with those tools, so that even as you are inking, you not speak out of context, you not write something that will be out of touch with a genre. I have read certain articles by people, I have read certain books by amateur writers where I can be able to see 5 genres in one book. And even the issues that they're articulating about, you read one article, you find there are 5 articles in that single article. There are 5 books in one book. The reason is very simple, is because those people are not specific. They have not picked the genre. In conclusion, what am I trying to say? Or you may ask a question, how can I choose a particular genre for my writing? Number one, here, allow me to share the steps on how you can choose your genre. Number one, know who you are. Know your passion and your life purpose. That simplifies what you're going to focus on. You know, my dear friends, there is this balancing in life doesn't mean you're trying to do everything that you want to do. Balance in life simply means picking a particular thing that is literally meant for you and sticking to it. Know your passion, know your purpose. That will make it easier for you to equip yourself or pick a genre. Number two, identify one area in your life that is pain-free. Is that one particular field that you enjoy reading about? For me, I enjoy reading about things that talk about purpose, because part of my primary intelligence type is existential intelligence. So I enjoy reading those things that apply in that field. I also enjoy things to do with entrepreneurship and psychology. And that's why when I write, I've picked a particular genre. You will find me, those of you who have followed me so well, I don't comment anyhow on many issues that are trending, specific things I talk about, and I write on specific issues. I don't want to be a jack of all trades, but master of none. Don't fall in that trap. After you pick that particular area that gives you a meaningful. Number three, discover the needs and the wants of people that you want to meet through your writing profession. As we embark on that journey of becoming an author, there is a need that you want to meet. I remember when I decided to start writing books, before that time I was writing quite a number of things, but when I decided to start writing books, I had to search which particular area does apply to me and what needs do I want to meet in people's lives. After I identify that need, I began focusing on that. And whenever I write, I make sure I keep focused on meeting the need of the people in that particular writing. Pick creative fiction, if you pick motivational writing, to pick entrepreneurship. In entrepreneurship, you can't just be writing on all the other issues that has to do with entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a broad subject. In as much as leadership is a subject, I have something specific at entrepreneurship field to talk about. Or perhaps you may pick entrepreneurship as a genre, or business writing as a genre, focus on entrepreneurs, maybe startup entrepreneurs as general as it is, and then keep on sharing principles just like that. That way you're going to equip yourself and shape yourself to become prolific in that line. Number four, find out in which genre the needs of the people that you have chosen to meet and the main read that you have particularly chosen in genre they fall in. Those needs of the people, they have got a particular genre academic field in which they fall. Find out and then begin shaping yourself or studying the rules, the forms, the context, and all the things that are involved in that particular genre. And then number five, stick to that genre. If the moment you do this, you're gonna find that you have something. You embark on a journey to become a prolific author because you have something specific to write about. You will not be rushing to read 50 books of different range, which may be very good for your personal development, but you have a specific focus as an author that gives you ground to go deeper. You will know at which level to interact with people. You will know at which level to speak to people. You will know which one is your target audience to write, because not everyone will be interested in what you write. Not every person would want to hear what you write. Every writing or every genre has got a target audience in which it targets. And those are the people that will find joy studying and reading your content. When you do these things, my dear friends, then you will be one step ahead in joining the ranks of prolific writers. I can end here because the lesson is done, unless if you have questions and contributions, you can come through. Allow me just to give this in as my last remarks. It may be more of reiteration of what I have talked about. It is very good that you have the ability to write, but make sure you write in a way that leaves an impact, not only by having the deep content, but also by inking your thoughts in a prolific manner. For you to do that, make sure you are so clear about your genre. Be defined, don't leave anything vague, because the moment you do that, your writings will be lost. It will not become so visible to the world, and you'll be sending your writing perhaps to a wrong type of audience that misinterprets your message and also rejects the content that you're providing. Then focus on building yourself and deepening yourself in that particular genre. This is how you start to become a prolific author. Thank you very much. And I end here. To you, Mr. Solomon, unless if you have questions, people can come through with one or two questions that we can handle, and then we call it a night for those who are in the US, so the timings are different.
So thank you very kindly for we really appreciate for those insights that you have given us, where there is a need to identify our own genre. We are not supposed to write each and every topic that comes out there. Even when we're writing our books, we should be specific on what are we writing about. Is it entrepreneurship? Is it politics? Is it love, romance? So all those things. Thank you very kindly. And at this particular time, we'll allow some questions. We understand that we're 6 minutes already in our time. Let us just allow some questions for 8 minutes, and we'll make sure that if at all you are having other questions, we'll make sure that you type them in the group, becoming a prolific writer, so that our speaker attends to them. So at this particular time, we'll allow some questions. Are you having any questions in regards to what has been talked about today? We're having 3 days of our webinar, so make sure that you are free to participate. Make sure that all your questions are answered, and you'll be ready to ink those thoughts that we have, those ideas that you have on paper. Any questions?
Hello. Not really a question, but rather a request. Can Mr. Mtonda send us a copy of the presentation, the PowerPoint?
Mr. Musomat, have you got the request?
Okay, I think I shared with the host the PowerPoints. And
so no problem, the PowerPoint will be shared. The PowerPoint will be shared. So if at all you missed anything, we'll make sure that those things are covered in the PowerPoint. If maybe if at all you never jotted down any points, don't be worried. Don't get worried. the PowerPoint will be coming very soon, just after this meeting. Any other question? Thank you very much, Mr. Blessings, for that question.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
Mr. Manasseh.
Yeah, I'm having a question concerning what Mr. Msomati talked about. On the part of choosing a specific thing, what if you're interested in two things, writing two things? Let's say I'm interested in writing about entrepreneurship, and I'm also interested in writing about, let's say, academic work and stuff. So does it mean I need to drop one, then I pick one, or maybe it's okay if I take two of them? Yeah, I don't know if you get my question.
Mr. Muhammad, can you get the question?
Okay, I didn't get the question. Mr. Solomon, if you can summarize it for me.
Mr. Manasseh, can you kindly ask the question again?
Okay, I was saying on the part of knowing the category, let me say you choosing one, as he said, say like choosing one on which you're good at, like the one you should like choose a doing, like choosing specific thing. Now, let me say if you're interested in two things, let's say entrepreneurship or something to do with academic, then does it mean you have to drop one, like you let one then concentrate on one thing, or maybe it's okay if you take both of them, like you just concentrate on both of them? You now get my question? Hello?
Mr. Muhammad.
Okay. Sorry, I had a bit of network breakdown. Can you type the question maybe in the chat? Just try to type a bit faster so that I can attend
The question,
to it. But allow me to attend to the question.
Yes, due to time, I'll summarize the question. The question was, if at all you are interested in academics and you are also interested about in entrepreneurship, are you supposed to drop one genre, or it's also possible to carry the two fields that you're interested in and just go for them as the two genres that you are interested in, that you would love to make impact in?
Exactly.
Yes. Have you understood the question,
Okay.
sir?
Okay, yeah, I think I've gotten it. So in case you have two interests, what can you write both? Can you become prolific? The challenge with that, the ability to write, yes, you can write, but you may not become prolific. The reason is very simple, because each of the two genres demand a lot of attention, and they demand a lot of skills for you to develop. You know, becoming a prolific author is not a one-day thing. It's not something that you can attain in a day. It is something that you must do daily. So you must be able to go to extremes in one particular field and leave the rest. You can write one or two things. Doesn't mean when you have a particular genre, you cannot write maybe one or two things that may concern the well-being of society, or some issues that rise and they demand that you voice out. Maybe there's some abuse of political power or something. But then becoming prolific will require only one specific field. So you can write both, but it will be very hard for you to become prolific, because entrepreneurship and academics, if it is academics, you do a lot of research. Academic writing takes a lot of time. That's why people take 5 to 7 years writing one book. Now imagine if you are doing that, because it requires a lot of research, a lot of input, as compared to maybe business. Business, as long as I'm an entrepreneur, I can share stories about business. You know, even me, I've a few things that I've written about business, but business is not my specialty. I would recommend to all entrepreneurs one book that I love so much, the book called E-Myth Revisited by Michael. E-Myth Revisited is a very powerful book. Now check the way that man writes. I'm just giving an example. He has focused only on entrepreneurship. The way he goes deep to explain entrepreneurship issues cannot be compared to the way I'm going to explain entrepreneurship. Myself would just write it as a by the way thing. So focus on one. If you really want to be prolific, choose one between the two. That is the most important. Among all the things that you have interest in, there's always one particular thing that is the most closest to you and in which your voice will easily gain the authority to be heard. Focus on that. Thank you.
So,
Allow me to attend to the second question that I saw. There's a second question that came through in the chat. Let me just read. I saw some question by Mr. Yam. I saw some question. Okay, I seem not to have it. I've forgotten the question. Mr. Solomon, do you have the copy of a question so that you can just read for me first?
Here's the question,
Like
sir.
Mr.
I can read.
Mr. William?
yes,
Okay, yeah.
The question reads,
yes.
I would like to know how I can find out what people need to know so as to have them covered in my prolific writing.
Okay, thank you. What you need to find out, how people need to know is pick, after you pick a genre, okay? After you pick a genre, you must identify the target audience. You as writers, all of you have joined us this night, all of you have joined us this night. You must know that no book is for everyone. If I asked you that book that you are writing, who is it for? Don't say it is for everyone. That is the greatest mistake you can make. So once you identify a particular genre, it always has target, define the target audience. And that target audience simply entails define their demographics and their psychographs, which we need to find out their age, what are they interested in, what language easily appeals to them. And for you to do that, I'll give an example. If you pick a genre of entrepreneurship and you pick a specific field, say I'm going to talk about startup entrepreneurs, identify startup entrepreneurs. You can interact, you can create a questionnaire and then try to interview those 5 or 10 startup entrepreneurs. Ask them about specific things they would love to know, and then keep focusing on that. You know, becoming a prolific author is not for lazy people. And if you are a lazy person, I must warn you that you never. It involves a lot of commitment and work. So interview those people is one of the best ways to get to know what they need to know, because that gives you a base. You know what they know and what they need to know and what you share, so that your book becomes irrelevant, it becomes valuable to them. Then interact more often with them. The best way to build or to write content for your target audience after you identify them is keep interacting with them. In that way, you have the captured. Yeah. Mr. Solomon.
So we'll just take one last question, and all the other questions will be written in the book, Becoming a Prolific Writer. We have already depleted our time. So let us make sure one last question, and tomorrow sharp, 1 hour, our meeting will just take 1 hour, so that we don't get into your time as entrepreneurs, as prolific writers. We understand how important our time is. So one last question. If at all you're having a question, kindly unmute yourself so that question can be answered.
Good evening.
Good evening, Comrade Shay. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Msonda, my question is just based on what you've been talking about. And I don't know whether you've answered it, but I wanted to ask, in terms of just choosing a particular field you want to write on, should this be just on one particular book, or should it be based on your whole writing journey as an author? So like, for example, if you choose entrepreneurship, is it just based on one book, or all the books you're going to write about should just be based on entrepreneurship?
Okay. All right. I think I can attend to that. So should it be based on maybe just a book or your profession? Well, it's your profession, not just a particular book. I'll talk about something that has to do with your book tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll try to talk to touch a bit on the content when you're picking a topic or a particular subject for your book. But a genre should something you inhabit, something that characterizes your whole profession of writing. In that way, that's when you become prolific. Yeah.
So, sir, a person may ask, you wrote about your Facebook that you wrote about purpose. Then the other one now you wrote about becoming a prolific writer. You know, someone may think these are two different genres, you understand? So I feel Comrade Shea is trying to put a point whereby maybe probably you are writing about leadership. Then you have these ideas about love and marriage. Can you switch to the two?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I've gotten the question. Now, I want to make something very clear here. Purpose and becoming a prolific author are almost in the similar lane. They are not very different. If you read the book, and I will admonish you to read that particular book, most of the things you're going to learn, the concept of specification comes from life purpose. You must have one specific field. But then, on the other hand, I should make mention that just because you have picked one particular genre doesn't mean when you have thoughts that you want to ink about love, for example, you're picked about entrepreneurship, you can share some ideas about love, but don't make the yeah. So in short, what I'm trying to say is you can write about any other subject, but have something that is holistic and make sure the subjects upon the subject you're going to incorporate in your writing field are not far-fetched from your genre. That is the best way to go. Yeah, so you can write about other topics, but don't have a far-fetched topic from your genre. Yeah.
Comrade Shea, has the question been answered?
Yes, yes, it has been answered.
No, thank you very much. I will really appreciate for your
Okay.
presence. At this particular time, we call it a night. Thank you very kindly for your patience. Thank you very kindly for your commitment. And always know that your ideas really matter, you know, and we really appreciate. There was one time that Comrade Shea told me, no, these ideas that you are writing on your status, the audience is too small. You should put them in a book. We really appreciate that our ideas really matter and they want someone to be changed and to be transformed. So we call it a night. Thank you very kindly, our speaker, Mr. Musomat. If there are any questions, please kindly communicate in the group, becoming a prolific writer, so that we can interact. That is where the PowerPoint will be sent in. And if at all there's anyone that has not been added to the group, we will surely add you just immediately after this this meeting. So have a good night. Thank you very kindly. And till tomorrow, we have 2 days to go. It is worth it of your time. It is worth it of your investment. Have a good night.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
So just a last one. Kindly type good night in the chat box so that we can know that we're together. So we are waiting for you, you that has not written the good night. Are you upset? All right, have a good night. Good night, good night, good night. All right.